Hey, welcome back to Cards and Comics, and today I've got another mail day, and it's going to be a very repetitive one, I think, based on what I think is here. And then, so I talked about in one of my earlier videos the worst experience I had as a dealer, and now I'm going to go through the worst experience I've ever had dealing with a dealer or with a dealer because I'm more often at the bigger shows just a collector or buyer of cards than I am a dealer, like at the National and or like the Chicago Sports Fest type shows that I used to go to quite a bit. And so I want to go through that. Um, but first, I want to go through a few cards. I've already opened this one, so this is an interesting card. It's the 96 Finest Jordan PSA 9. It's the common. I wonder if we can see it. Yeah, so if you look at the card, you see that you're seeing some oxidation of the card. So it's gone from bronze to almost like a golden color. So I'm wondering in 10 years, are we going to see these cards like change complete color? Um, so yeah, we're seeing that the change in this color right now. And I'm just wondering if we're going to see this, and we're going to see like maybe different color combinations: copper, silver, gold. So anyway, thought it was interesting. I don't know how that's going to hurt the value. I know that obviously the greening issues on the Kobe rookies, for example. I've seen some of those brought up. Green versus non-green, and yeah, obviously if they're graded before they started to green, then the grade may not be as accurate as people would like. I think that is, yeah, one of the issues with grading is that the cards can change. All right, so my first card up is the big card, so we'll start right off. I don't have these in any order. This is the big card, and so, yeah, here it is. It is a Wander Franco Refractor 910. And this is a nice one because I think it is straight 9, and I definitely think it would PSA. And if you look at it, it is numbered out of 499. And pull it back a little bit, you can see it's a very nice card. And yeah, I mean it's color theoretically, I guess not color if it's a refractor. I don't know how a refractor's color or not. But yeah, I mean, I think it is a great card. He is tearing it up in the minor leagues right now. And so I picked up some Wanders. I think that they got some room to grow. And yeah, and my story back in the day was, I did pull an orange chrome refractor auto. First pack, first box of the 19 Bowman product. So it's my claim to fame, I guess. If you stay in this game long enough, you'll hit something if you open up enough boxes, right? So everyone's got their story, kind of like fishing tales. So yeah, open this card up. Now this one is definitely taped to high heck. I think that's always interesting. I'm a big believer in using maybe non, or I guess the painter's tape versus shipping tape. So this one is definitely well taped for sure. So just trying to get out. I think this is yeah, this is a lot of Wander Francos I bought. And I like buying lots on eBay because you can get usually a good discount when you buy multiples, and it's a good way to generate some obvious volume in a certain card. Now here is 4 chrome Wander Francos, and I haven't looked to see. I mean, obviously I can't tell if they're gradable right now, but having 4 Wander Franco chromes is great. Again, I plan to start setting up at card shows, and that is something. Obviously I think later this year there's going to be a high demand for Wander Franco. So on the whole saga of my worst experience ever with a dealer, I'll start out with this: is that the dealer is fairly well known in the vintage card market. Um, in fact, this dealer is from the same area I grew up, but I lived for a long time in Indiana. Now, um, they were not friends. So, like, in Indiana, I went to a lot of shows, set up a lot of shows, but this particular dealer, and I am going to say his name. Yeah, I'm not going to hold that out because I thought about it, and I've already talked about this on PSA forums back in the day when it occurred, and I think and I may be the only one who doesn't like this dealer, which is fine because everyone has their own experiences. But so the dealer is Card Country, and and if anyone has dealt in vintage cards, Card Country is kind of this mom and pop run business. When you go to the big shows, you'll see them in matching like baseball kind of long sleeve baseball t-shirts. They're all kind of dressed similarly. They're all like family. So it looks like a really nice family run business where you got dad, the kids, grandpa out there. So all that is great, and that's not the issue I have. It's really around two issues around how they treat customers and really not living up to their word. And I think it's hard when you know you're dealing in something like collectibles where you get a lot of repeat customers. If because people tend to go to the people that they trust because trust is a big part of this, right? I mean, let's be honest. This hobby is one of the most fraudulent hobbies in the world in terms of the companies that are involved, the dealers, the history. So there is some trust is a big deal. And my journey with these guys started in Chicago, and I knew who they were. Now, Car Country is definitely a higher price. So one of the reasons why I never really dealt with them before this particular show in Chicago was they were always more expensive than every other dealer for the most part. And their claim to fame was that their cards were always perfectly centered, or they tried to say that every card was high end. Now, this is one of my biggest pet peeves is that that my graded card is better than your graded card when it's not obvious. Like, okay, if a card is perfectly centered and my card is 70-30, that is obviously not the same eye appeal. I grant that, but when the cards are the same centering and they're going off into tangents on a print dot that is very barely visible as the reason why my card is worth half the price of their card, and that's what they do. And I'm just telling you that's one of the issues I had with them. But yeah, like started in Chicago, and the first deal that went wrong with them was this. I went and tried to buy a 1955 Topps Jackie Robinson PSA 8. And I don't know what the prices were back then. I think I'd say around $2,000, $2,500, maybe 28. Because when I asked about the card, they had a whole price list that they went to, and they pulled it out and looked at it, and they told me a price. I think it was around $2,500. I'm like, wow, that's really reasonable. That's actually a really nice card, and it's like right at comps to eBay and vintage card prices. So I'm like, wow, it's a good deal. It's a good card. I'm gonna go buy it. So I told the guy, one of the workers, I said, hey, I'm gonna buy this card. I just need to go sell a few cards and come back and buy it. And it'll take me like 30-40 minutes. I've got a guy that I was going to do a deal with and sell cards to anyway, and I'll be back in like 25-30 minutes. And the guy's like, perfect, great. I'll hold the card, we'll put it right back here, and when you come back, we'll sell it to you. No problem. Okay. So I'll go out and I sell, around $3,000 worth of cards. Now, did I have a deal pre-set up? No, I did not. I have a bunch of dealers I do work with to sell cards. So I went to the dealers I'm friendly with that I know will buy, and I had cards with me, and I sold $3,000 worth of cards. And, and at the time that this happened, one of the other factors was I didn't have a huge collection like I don't say like I do now, but at the time, to get to $3,000 worth of cards with the prices then, weren't quite as high today, or nearly as high. that I had to sell a lot of cards, and so I had to sell a lot of cards I brought with me just in case. And this card was special; I really wanted it, and so I had to sell like a large amount of cards. And again, the prices aren't really the important part. It's just I had to sell a lot of cards to get to that price. So I did it, and I sold them, and I came back, and I said, hey, I've got the money. I want to buy the card. And the guy's like, great. He gets ready to hand me the card, and then another guy walks up and goes, hey, that card isn't at that price. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, I think we quoted you the wrong price. And then the price was like over $1,000 higher than what the quote was originally. And then I'm like, whoa, like that's a lot higher. Like that's not like a couple $100. This is like like a third higher, like 35% higher price. And he's like, yeah, we just made a mistake. I guess I looked at the wrong line on the price guide when I gave it to you. And so, yeah, we can't sell you that card for that price or nowhere near that price. I'm like, okay, is there anything else you could do? He's like, well, if you want another card, we might work with you on another card. And that was it. We might work with you on another card. That was it. I sold $3,000 or equivalent, or whatever. I sold a lot of cards, so I'll just put it that way. Thousands of dollars of cards I sold just to buy that one card, and now he wasn't going to sell it to me. So that was really negative. I got really upset, and now a lot of people, when I talked about this on PSA's site, they said, well, you should have told him how upset you were. And I said, well, I did tell him I was upset. Like I just said, hey, that's not cool. Like that's not right. You quoted me a price and you should stick to it. And the guy was just like, no, it was a mistake on our part. We're not going to honor that price. And so I left, and I didn't, I was very upset. Really ruined the day. And then what was funny was, where he was set up right next to him was another dealer that I knew a little bit of, but comes to find out that they were really good friends, and that's why they were next to each other. And one of the guys that came with me to the show was selling his 1967 Rod Carew because I knew he was looking to buy a PSA 9. Like he wanted to upgrade his 8 to a 9. And so I'm with him. I'm kind of staying in the background, watching the deal. I'm not engaged at all. And they're looking at the card. I know the card is really nice. And all of a sudden, here comes Card Country Dude right behind him and says, oh man, that card, that's not an 8. Like right off the bat. Like, yeah, like I don't know if you should do, I wouldn't give more than 50% for this card or something, Basically really said, the card, sucks. It's lucky to get an 8. Really, like out of the blue, this guy just walks up and starts saying all this crap about my friend's card. He was trying to do a deal with this guy. And, like unsolicited just opinion of, and, now that I know they're friends, this may have been actually a planned, thing that they were, working together to try to lower the price. But man, that really, bugged me because I just had this bad experience with him. And now he's just walking in on a friend's deal and telling, the guy how terrible the card is. And he wouldn't even buy the card. And just on and on. It wasn't just like one or two comments. It was just like over and over and over how terrible the card was. And eventually my buddy just backed out of the deal. We didn't do it because, it got kind of like, so negative, like the guy was like, I'll give you like 50%, of VCP or whatever. For a really good card. It was a really nice card. I'm just going to say that. So that was like the first two real incidents. So I'll open the next card up, and then I'll talk about the straw that broke the camel's back with these guys. And so like I said, I was very negative, after that first experience, and then this kind of was like, okay, well, this guy is definitely kind of douchey, like this is not normal behavior for most dealers, like. They don't, butt in on other dealers, unless asked. So this was definitely, odd. And I thought like, now they were obviously sitting next to each other now that I know, and I figured out later on they were friends. So I could see, why they were, doing that, but at the time I didn't know that. And so I just thought it was like this guy being really, really douchey. And next up is two more Wander Francos. Like I told you, this video is going to be kind of repetitive. Um, Now, I think there is a vintage card in this lineup, so if you're interested in vintage. The Mojo and a base, and again, I'm getting volume. I usually have volume. I do have some volume in Wander, but, I didn't have an auto, and so I got an auto now, and, getting some color, some different base cards. So yeah, so like, what happened next was, so I told you the guys from where, the same state, I lived in for a lot of years. And so finally, and this is the thing that's funny is that, there's a monthly card show right in this almost the same exact town he's in. And I set up that card show almost every month. And he never shows up. He never sets up. He never goes to it. And then all of a sudden one day, lo and behold, he shows up to the show and he's buying. And so I've got a bunch of nice vintage cards. And, he comes over, and I'm close to the door. And so he comes over. He doesn't know who I am, doesn't remember me, but I know who he is right away. And, and so I'm kind of like, yeah, this guy, he, yeah. And so here's a 91 traded Ivan Rodriguez. Obviously, the Tiffany is the card to get, but I don't have this card, and I just I've always liked this card. I've always liked, big fan of his. I watched him play in Tulsa when I used to live in Oklahoma, and just love it. I know he's gotten some. Maybe he did steroids, probably. I'm not one of those guys who said he'll never did it, because that team all did steroids. But he still was a good player, and I really enjoyed watching him play. So I'm going to get the Tiffany one day, but there's his base tops. So, this guy walks in, car country dude walks in. I think his name is Jeff. I don't know. Guy walks in and, comes up to my table and starts I want everything. Hey, give me every card. So, eventually he narrows it down to some Hall of Fame rookie cards and some big cards, Aaron. I think I had a Banks rookie card, PSA 7. Some pretty nice cards. And then it starts up this card sucks. This card's overgraded. This card, just on and just how terrible my cards are. And again, I'm like, you sell all your cards at 20 to 30% over BCP or eBay prices, which is, okay, that's your business model. But, you're trying to buy my cards at 50% or below. Jesus, man, what's your profit margin, guy? This isn't normal, dealer to dealer behavior either. It was just very arrogant. I'm going to bless you with my presence and buy your cards from you because your cards are so terrible that they will make my cards weep in frustration to have to be next to them. It was literally that level of your cards are just terrible. I can't believe you got these grades. You must know someone. It's just I'm like, my gosh, I bought these. I didn't get most of these graded. And, it was this practice or rehearse spiel about how terrible my cards were. And so, and the biggest regret I had is I did sell him a few cards. And I wish I hadn't. My other video, I did kind of stick to my guns. This time I didn't. And I really feel bad because I wish I just would have just said, look, dude, just pound sand, go away. But I didn't. And, but, after that, I did, say, look, I'm never going to deal with this guy again. So I never sold him another card. And I've never really, at card shows, I just avoid their tables. I might look at what's on their tables, but I will never buy anything from those guys ever again. And, and it's just because, of how they go about their business practice. It's this, is that, you can charge whatever you want and you can buy for whatever you want. But, the whole point of telling someone how terrible their cards are to try to get your prices down, it's just not, for me, that's just crap, because a lot of times I'm a collector, these are cards I may have been collecting for years or decades, and I'm selling them now, and you're telling me basically my collection sucks. And that, I've collected terrible cards, and I've been I was ripped off or screwed over, and I don't know how to buy cards, properly, and that I don't know how to look at vintage cards and understand the difference between a good and a bad grade, and and it's just like that's unnecessary. That's just like a level of something you don't need to go to make a deal happen. Like that's just you trying to get a deal, and in a kind of in a very douchey way. So um, the interesting thing about this was when I posted this on PSA's forum. Ooh, there's the one vintage card. All right, there we go. PSA 7. It is a Johnny Bench rookie card. And I liked it because, let's see if we can get some autofocus here. Maybe, there we go. I liked it because, again, it's pretty well centered for a 7. And, you know, obviously, I would love to have an 8 or an 8.5. But, Hall of Fame rookie cards and 7 or above, I think right now I have to be more realistic about, buying prices and what I can afford, and just having some volume, because these are the kind of cards I would sell. I don't keep 7s as often as I keep 8s or 8.5s or 9s. So, but having some more cards that I think Hall of Fame rookie cards are going to keep going up, and having cards that I can move once they go up and not feel too bad about it. And so this is one of them, and it's a nice card. I mean, it is a very nice card for the grade. I think most people would say that this is a really well centered. You can look at the back and you don't see, a pro grading tip for 68s is, we can get to focus. Yeah, there you go. That's usually your problem with 68s is the back, that corner right there. And a lot of people don't realize that the 68 fronts, there's another corner ding. So there you go. But it's the fronts will never show that corner. So this corner here, which is back here, focus. Come on, buddy. There we go. You're never going to really see that, especially to the naked eye, on the front on 68s because of the pattern. So if you're going to really buy 68s and really understand them, you got to look at the backs. It is one of the things you have to really look at, because the damage only really shows on the back. Versus other years, like 71s, you can look at the front all day long and probably catch 90% of the issues. But on 68s, you got to look at the back. So when I talked about PSA was, I posted it on PSA, man, like, boy, the White Knights came out and really hammered me, just like, you're being, like, you're unrealistic. It's a business. He's trying to improve his margins, blah, blah, blah. But that's fine. Like, I don't have to deal with dealers who, just treat their customers poorly. I'll give you a great example of, like, a lot of people don't like 707 cards, Levi Blem, because his prices are high. He is kind of disinterested in selling cards sometimes. Like, he's a great storyteller. The guy is really entertaining. I like talking to him, but he doesn't really come off his prices very much. And so you go to the show and you're like, oh, well, this is $1,300, and like the last one sold for $600. And he's like, dude, find it. Go pay $600 for it then. Go find it. Like, I've got this huge inventory. And he'll tell you stuff like, look, if you'd have bought your manuals off me 10 years ago, you'd be $5,000, $10,000 ahead. So my prices don't suck. It's just you don't have good vision of the future and timing. Things like that. That's great. He's very consistent in how he treats you. Now, I would rather buy cards off him all day long, because I know where he's coming from, and I know what he likes, and I know how he values cards. And I've been able to buy cards off that guy, where he's come down eventually off of a price to where it's more reasonable. And I got my 33 Gaudy Jim Thorpe from the guy. The 71 Topps Pete Rose 8 from Levi. And so I bought great cards from him and got them at good deals, comparatively to what they're priced today. And, at the time, they may have been a little high, maybe 10, 15%, but they were good quality. And so I'll pay a little bit more for good quality. But the idea was, like, we were able to make a deal and we were both happy, and I didn't feel like I was being, taken advantage of, or being, belittled while I was trying to make a deal. And I think that's a good thing. And so it's just one of those things where a lot of people love Card Country. They give away shirts. They have that home family mentality, but then they're paying like a ton more per card than they maybe should. And I hate to see what the prices are today. I mean, my God, they're probably pricing things through the roof with current pricing. But so they're paying for some of the experience. Whereas like Levi, he's expensive, but he's consistently expensive, and he's very complimentary of you and your collection if you talk to him. Now he's got a buyer guy that works with him, and I don't like that dude. I will not deal with his friend that comes with him. I'm just saying that. Like, Levi is great. I like talking to him, but the other guy I'm not a big fan of. But that's just how it is. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I want to deal with people I like and that treat me nice and treat me like this isn't just about making money off of me. I'm not a wallet. And those guys, Card Country, don't do that. And I think that it's a shame too, because they do have nice cards. And I know a lot of people like them, and so if you like them, that's great. But my experience is was pretty negative multiple times. So after that third time, I was like, yeah, this is it. I'm not going to deal with these guys. So here's kind of a first for me. So I bought this really more as a curiosity. Pricing was okay, but a CSG 9.5 in the holder, and the holder's kind of with this, but with this being shiny, it's kind of cool. But I don't really love it, after looking at it. So I've got the two holders side by side, and they're pretty much identical in terms of size, so there's no size difference. But how they've got this kind of flip that's like basically double the size of PSAs, and there's no other information on it. So I guess this didn't get the subgrade, so that's maybe why it sold a little cheaper. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just, I have it, and, we'll see. I'll take it to shows and see how much interest I get in it. But, so yeah, there it is. A lot of Wander Francos. I made some concerted effort to build some inventory. I did get a Hall of Fame rookie card, so it's not, or two Hall of Fame rookie cards, I guess, and then a cool Jordan card that's turning color. So all in all, not a terrible day. Hopefully you like the story about Card Country. Again, if you love those guys, it's just my experience. But yeah, I mean, this is like how the hobby is. Eventually you gravitate to the people you like, stay away from those you don't, and hopefully you don't get ripped off too many times, because staying long enough you will. And I've been definitely ripped off enough that I probably should be out of this business by now. But we're all gluttons for punishment if you stay in this hobby long enough, and everyone who's done this long enough has probably got some great stories. So I'll try to remember some of those for next time. The next video I'm going to do is probably going to focus on my 70s collection, and I'll go through that, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.